happen or when it's going to happen, and we can only hope that it happens in the next 45 minutes. It is now time for our main event. Two undefeated prospects meet in our main event. Jeff Resto's the guy those in the know are talking about, while Carlos Maussa is determined to change all that. These are the rankings among Ring Magazine's 40-pounders. It's loaded with big names at the top and emerging stars at the bottom. But one isn't in the mix for the time being. Tonight's Everlast Fighter Focus introduces us to Jeff Resto. He's seemingly on a collision course for greatness. The 26-year-old from the Bronx confidently places himself among the elite junior welters.
There's a lot of good fighters in my division, young and upcoming prospects, but I think I'm the best of all of them.
Resto's rise has been a well-rounded mix of good skills and impressive power. In February of 2002, he faced off against Cornell Shinholster. It didn't last long. Jeff rocked Cornell, cutting him under the right eye and taking a first-round TKO win. Last August, he faced the always tough Emmanuel Clottey. Clottey, who recently stopped the well-celebrated Olympian Muhammad Abdullayev, couldn't find the answers for Resto. Resto finished stronger with the decision win. Jeff wants to establish himself as a fan favorite, and he feels there are many reasons why he will.
I just train real hard, you know, and I give it my best. Try to give people their money's worth and someone to talk about for a long time.
Tonight he takes on another unbeaten fighter determined to not just test Resto, but to beat him soundly. After a long amateur career in Colombia, Carlos Maussa now has 14 knockouts in his 15 pro fights. His only fight that went the distance went a full 12 rounds. It came against Hiklet Lau. Like Jeff Resto, Hiklet Lau is tall and lanky for a junior welterweight. As far as Carlos is concerned, the question is, does that make for a similar problem tonight?
I know he's a quick boxer, and like I said, I'm going to work his body. I'm going to work his body, and I'm going to get the rounds go by and get the victory.
I think I'll box him. I think I'll be much faster than him, and I think I'll probably stop him in the 8th round.
So now they are under the bright lights here in Corpus Christi at Memorial Coliseum. And here is 32-year-old Carlos Maussa, Colombian slugger. He moved to Miami this year. Carlos fighting for just the 4th time in the United States, 15-0, 14 shorts. His last 5, well, he just fought on August 1st. That was a second-round knockout of 41-year-old Freddie Cruz. That 12-round decision with Hiklet Lau, that was this past May in Miami. Teddy's tips for Carlos Maussa.
For Maussa to pull off the win here tonight, if you go wide, you may go flat. Flat on your back, I mean. If you insist on throwing those long, wide punches from too far away, you better shorten up. Number 2, hands up coming in. It's bad enough you sometimes walk straight in, but when you do it with your hands down, you're asking for trouble to get hit clean. And number 3, if he covers, go to work. Sometimes Resto will go on the defensive too long by looking to block and cover. If he does this, it may be your best chance to do something. So take advantage and put punches together.
There's Jeff Resto, extremely hard worker, trains on a Fort Apache gym in the Bronx, keeping a busy pace lately, his 9th fight in the last 19 months. He's a perfect 17-0, he has 11 knockouts, and Resto's most recent work included 3 straight knockout wins, and Resto's management says the decision against Martez Logan was a fight that was hard for Jeff to look good in. Teddy, what does he have to do to look good tonight?
Well, Resto is going to stay on that fast track to being rated and maybe a title. Be disciplined and keep your height. You are both tall, but he does not use his height at all. So make sure you do. Number 2, charge him for real estate. Maussa tries to walk right in, make him pay 4 punches for every square foot. And number 3, as he drifts out, catch him. Maussa drifts in and out like waves at a beach. Catch one and ride it, or rather hit it as he goes back. Now, back in October of last year, we had a similar situation. Also an undefeated fighter, Dikembe Alajide, same kind of record as Resto, came in with an undefeated fight, almost with the same record. Mendoza was 15-0 with 15 knockouts. Little was known about him. He was also from Colombia. And what happened? Well, the New York fighter was no longer undefeated when the night ended early in the first round. Resto and his people obviously are hoping that there's no such similarity here tonight against Maussa.
Come on, back there, Jeffrey.
Scheduled 12-rounder for these undefeated prospects. Lawrence Cole is your referee. Why the 12-rounder? They're playing for a small prize. Not worthy of your attention. Jeff Resto doesn't have the luxuries that some of the other prospects in the sport have. In fact, he still works a full-time job. He's a receiving clerk at a New York hospital. Balances that with a non-stop training regimen, a wife and 3 children. He's hopeful that that will soon change, and that with his success in the ring, he will be able to solely concentrate on his training and family. In fact, Teddy, he had to request 3 days of vacation from his job just to come down here and fight in this main event.
He's doing it the old-fashioned way. Kind of like the old baseball players did it before they made the big salaries. They had to work. They worked. The football players, they worked. The old-time fighters, great fighters that they were, and there was a lot of them, they all worked. You know, sometimes who knows what's better. Now, of course, it's great if you can have somebody, a manager or promoter that takes care of you, pays your bill. You can only concentrate, and you only have to concentrate on boxing. But sometimes it makes you a little hungrier. You take nothing for granted when you have to do it this way. And Resto, he knows he can take nothing for granted.
Neutral corner. Accidental headbutt. Accidental headbutt. Accidental. Accidental. All right?
All right, so an accidental headbutt here in the opening moments of this first round opens up a cut on Carlos Maussa.
And more importantly, it's changed the disposition of Resto, who came out this first round looking to box, looking to stay outside, use his height. He's coming forward now, trying to take advantage, maybe hoping that Maussa doesn't know how to deal with a cut. Hoping that it would distract him in some way where the aggression suddenly of Resto will pay off.
Neither guy in this big spot of national TV in their biggest test so far of their careers wants to waste this evening. Fight has to go 4 rounds if we're to go to the scorecards. If this fight is stopped because of that cut over the left eye of Maussa.
There you can see an example of what I was talking about on the tip. Sometimes Resto, although well defensive-minded, good fundamentals, he goes defensive too long. He disconnects a little bit from offensive defense. He goes into blocking, goes into covering, goes defensive. You can see it right here, slipping, sliding, but he shuts off his offense. And when he does that, he puts himself in that kind of handcuff position. That's where I think Maussa can really start to let that offense go and maybe capture parts of rounds.
Joe Tessitore and Teddy Atlas with you from Corpus Christi, our main event. The undefeated slugger, now living in Miami by way of Colombia, Carlos Maussa. We don't know a lot about him. This is his first real test against Jeff Resto, the highly hyped prospect from New York, also unbeaten at 17-0. In round number 1, Maussa was cut over that left eye from an accidental headbutt. He threw 129 punches in the opening 3 minutes, landed 30 of them.
Joe, here's an example of Resto. Even though good fundamentals, he's going defensive too long. Now he's going to go on the offense. But a moment ago, got near the ropes, went defensive to a point where he allowed Maussa to control the action and win that part of the round. Again, you can see Resto doesn't mix offense and defense. He's either throwing at you, or he's blocking, he's dipping, he's covering, he's parrying punches like now. But he's allowing you to put punches together on him. He's like a heavy bag. Even though he's covered up well, he's allowing you to go to work. He needs to block and bang, 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 punch right back, and he's not doing that. He could do one of 2 things, Resto, that would serve him a lot better here. Block and come right back, or just punch with Maussa. Punch in between the shots, like that. Because remember, Maussa Maussa is wide with his shot. So if you go defensive, you let him get away with being wide. You don't make him pay a price. But if you punch with him, like Resto looks like he's starting to do a little bit now, you make him pay the price for being wide. You nail him. Resto's got to calm down a little, get his timing down. He's not sure how he wants to go about this fight right now. Right now he's just blocking. He doesn't want to get caught anything. He don't know much about Maussa except that he's 15-0 with 14 knockouts, so he's covering up. He doesn't realize he's thinking he's doing the right thing, but he's allowing Maussa to get going, to get his engine running.
Teddy, a cautious curiosity that Tacumbo Olajide didn't have against a slugging Colombian that people didn't know about.
That's true, in a different style also. Olajide was a counterpuncher. He was forced to walk in. He had a very tall fighter. See, Resto, big advantage here. He's just as tall, if not taller than Maussa. Olajide didn't have that advantage. Olajide was shorter with a real tall Mendoza, who was almost 6'2". He was forced to walk in, come out of his style, and he walked into bombs. Resto has much better height. Serves him well. But right now, he's not sure what he wants to do. But he's got to find at some point, right there, use his height with the jab, and I think punch in between. Don't just block. See how he just blocks? He lets Maussa get off and get out. Punch with a block and punch right down the pipe in between those wide shots of Maussa.
Big fight night in Corpus Christi. The guy who knows the most about big fight nights in Corpus Christi is sitting just to my left. Former world champion Gennaro Hernandez, who's working CompuBox with us tonight. You remember March 22nd of 1997, Gennaro? That's when you took on Azuma Nelson for the world title. And at the end of round 7, controversy, because after the bell, Nelson punches you square in the throat.
Yeah, I received the punch. I didn't feel my legs go from underneath me, and, well, what happened, it was history afterwards.
The best part of the story, you continued the fight. You could have won the title on disqualification, but your brother gave you some great sound advice that you carry with you to this day.
Yeah, my brother Rudy, he told me that, you know what, champions are made fighting and not laying on their back, so we decided, you know what, we're going to be a real champion and fight the champion the way and defeat a champion the way that he should be defeated.
Gennaro Hernandez, 6 years ago, winning the world title with us right here in Corpus Christi.
Pleasure.
So glad to have you with us week in and week out. Do a great job on all the CompuBox stats.
To be a champion, you not only have to get a belt, you have to behave and act like a champion when you're called on to do that. As you just pointed out so well, Gennaro, when he was called on to truly behave like a champion, he was. And his partner there with the punch stats, Saul Avila, who's also a former fighter. They both do a terrific job for us with the punch stats.
Round number 3, Carlos Maussa and Jeff Resto. Unbeaten prospects in our main event. Teddy, we talked about the hard work and the training and the road to success that Jeff Resto has taken. He's not in that young millionaires club. He's earned it over the 6 years of working his way up, now fighting more often. You know, great example of the opposite of that in his own weight class, Ricardo Williams.
That's a good example. Ricardo Williams, of course, won a silver medal. In the Olympics, he had everything handed to him. He had somebody that gave him $1 million or somewhere in that neighborhood before he even turned pro. He didn't have to work. And you could also argue 2 ways. You could say, yeah, he could concentrate on boxing, or you could say he got a little bit lax, took things for granted, lost some of the edge. Didn't have to win fights to become a millionaire. He already was rich and wealthy. Somebody told him you're successful even if you don't perform in the ring. Maybe that hurt him. And maybe the way Resto is doing it, maybe that will serve him. There's an argument for both cases. It depends on the person, obviously. Right now, Resto must not, I think, give up his height the way he's giving it up. See, he's giving up his height in a different way. He's not falling in. A lot of times we talk about guys giving up their height. They fall in with punches. And as I say, of course, Resto starts falling in, giving up his height. But he wasn't doing that. He's giving his height this way. Just covering up, just going defensive, not using his height, not keeping Maussa at a certain distance, letting Maussa walk right in and take control offensively. And Maussa really the description of somebody who is awkwardly clever. That old fight description, that old cliche, that old axiom that the fight guys used to use. Maussa fits that. He looks like he does everything wrong. He's off balance, but he gets the job done. He's throwing punches. It looks like he's falling out, but he gets away just at the right time. Like I said in the fight tips, he's like a wave. He comes in waves, in and out.
And once again, he's over 100 punches thrown in a round.
He's controlling the pace.
Many boxing experts feel this guy, Jeff Resto, is on the precipice of greatness. It doesn't come easy. No rest for Resto. 6 a.m. he gets up and does road work. Heads off to Mount Sinai Hospital from 8:30 to 4:30 to work a 40-hour-a-week job. 5:30 to 8:30, pounds it out in the gym. Gets home at 9:30. Enough time to spare to spend time with his wife and 3 kids. 4th round, Carlos Maussa and Jeff Resto. In that 3rd round, Maussa landed 33 of 112 punches.
I talked about it in one of the earlier fights. The Diaz-Castaneda fight, Joe. Diaz, the younger fighter, didn't want to fall behind. You never want to fall behind, but he didn't want to fall behind early in that fight. It turned out all right for him on the judge's scorecard. But here's another example. Here's Resto, who's never been beyond 8 rounds in his career. He's scheduled for a 12-round.
Oh! With a hollow right hand after he drew Maussa into a brawl, asking him to swing freely. I don't think Maussa has any problem with swapping leather. That's what he likes.
It's up to Resto to take advantage of that wide leather. Not the leather, but the wide leather of Maussa. And Resto, except for that spot, hasn't done that consistently. He's been allowing Maussa to control the tempo and the pace of this fight. But what I was saying earlier is if Resto falls behind any further in this round, it's going to be more damaging than normally. Going 12 rounds possibly for the first time, never past 8. And Maussa is the fighter who has been the distance. He's been 12 rounds. So you don't want to see a young Resto in a situation where he's behind, going into uncharted waters, uncharted territory, and he's got to make a big run when he doesn't know where he's running. Maussa, if he gets the lead, you would think it would fit him well because he's the only guy who's been 12 rounds. But once again, Resto not sure consistently what he should do, what his identity should be in this fight. He came out early in the fight, Joe, moving around, thinking, well, that's the way to go. I'll be safe with a guy I don't know much about. He's got a good knockout record. I'll use my height. But he gave up some of his height by moving because he wasn't set to punch. And he allowed Maussa maybe to get that momentum going that he's got going now. Maussa was walking in while Resto was moving, and Maussa didn't have to worry. There looks like there was maybe a clash of heads.
Look at me. Look at me. Let me see. Is it cut? No, you're okay. Accidental headbutt, all right? Come in. Stop.
Lawrence Cole, the referee, doing a good job. Right away recognizing what happened, stating what happened, and saying, okay, no cut, let's get back to work. And once again, Maussa doing a good job, except for one spot in this round, of controlling the pace.
And now it's all Holyfield.
You know, for $1 million, I would totally go around with Holyfield. What? What? How bad could it be?
That's all you got?
Tell it over a great-tasting, less-filling Miller Lite. It's Miller time.
Look at this. The ring girl.
Friday Night Fights presented by Miller Lite from Corpus Christi, Texas. Good main event. Carlos Maussa has been very busy through the first 4 rounds against the undefeated hot New York prospect, Jeff Resto.
an undefeated fight. In this case, two undefeated fighters. Neither guy has learned or accepted how to lose. That can be their greatest asset and the greatest asset to overcome. As I said earlier, Resto, I just don't think he's settled down to what he needs to do in this fight yet. Worrying about the clippings of Maussa, came out moving around, but by moving around, staying away, he allowed Maussa to walk in, not worry about any offense. Then he shifted to where he was just blocking. Nice blocks, but giving up his height, allowing Maussa to walk right in and control the theme of the fight. Get all the offense going in his direction. I think the way Resto has to do is stand his ground. Use his height, but stand his ground. Use his jab, keep Maussa at a certain distance, and then sort of challenge Maussa to walk in. And then nail him walking in. Don't go defensive too soon. Right now, I think Resto should be using his jab, and then there, right there, let the hands go. As Maussa, who likes to initiate contact by walking in, right there. This is the best work so far by Resto, and the closest I can see to him getting some kind of footing of a fight plan that I think can work for him the right way. Use your jab, stand your ground, and let those hands go before Maussa, who gives up his height, can get close. See, again, Resto goes defensive too long, and he allows Maussa not only to get a good offensive flow going, but to capture large portions of the round. Now, I know a lot of these punches are being blocked by Resto, Joe, but nothing's coming from Resto. It's all coming from Maussa. He has to be winning those parts of the round, and some of them are getting in. You can only block so many.
Snuck a left hand through the guard as Resto comes back with a left hand of his own. And back to it, connects with a straight right. And now a big right hand as Maussa's willing to trade.
This is what Resto needs, to move those hands. Not wait until Maussa walks in and sets up shot. Just move those hands, keep Maussa at a certain distance. And of course, there's always opportunities for Resto just to punch in between the shots with Maussa. His punch is a little straighter. He can get there first. This is a nice fight.
Oh, what a great last minute of the fifth round here between Maussa and Jeff Resto. And Teddy, if it's a contest of hand speed, edge Resto.
If it's a contest of who throws the better punches, the shorter, more concise punches, Resto. But if it's a contest of who's throwing more, it's Maussa.
Así es que tiene que pelear. Vamos. Está muerto ese tipo ya.
It's one round for us.
Well, now you're going to see when Resto finally got it in gear, out of frustration, out of necessity, maybe out of urgency, finally started moving those hands. Now, a lot of them were missing. But by moving his hands and staying consistent, at least he took the play away from Maussa and did some landing, which he needed to do at this point.
Jeff Resto, 17-0 with 11 knockouts, facing Carlos Maussa, who started late as a pro. He had 300 fights, was a 5-time national champ as an amateur in Colombia. 14 knockouts and 15 wins since turning pro for the 32-year-old, brawling and slugging and volume punching Carlos Maussa.
Now that last half of the round for Resto, nothing real significant done, but the most significant thing done is mentally, he got back in the fight. He showed that he can do something. He can have some offensive success and control in his fight. He hadn't done that for the first quarter, the first 4 rounds of this fight.
That exchange just loosened up the mouthpiece and put it on the canvas. Lawrence Cole quick to see it.
You know, this Maussa, I used the cliche earlier, the axiom, awkwardly clever. Just watch the little things he does. He doesn't look pretty doing them, but he's effective doing them. He knows when to throw. he waits to the right spot to throw, and then he'll drift out before you throw back, and then drift back in while you're reloading. He's like waves, I said, at the beach. The only thing is you got to time those waves. You can't let those waves control you. Otherwise, you get seasick. They take you in and out, and you'll be falling all over the place.
48-47 on Teddy's scorecard for Carlos Maussa. Good exchange on the inside, body work. That's something that Carlos Maussa probably wants to do more of. He told us that was his strategy heading into this fight. Wanted to work Resto's body. He said he's a big, athletic, and fights tall. I'll chop him down. Oh, left hand comes in from Carlos Maussa. And a right hand puts out the mouthpiece again.
Time!
Just as Lawrence Cole broke him up.
Don't retaliate. You threw a punch on the back of his head that made that other one go low.
And you heard what Lawrence Cole had to say there.
Okay, stop! Stop! Is that it?
Whoa! Whoa! Holy cow! Jeff Resto, did he just declare that he wanted no more? He did!
Unbelievable.
Holy cow! He was frustrated. You could see the frustration on his face, and he just pulled a modern-day no mas.
His trainer just looking at him in dismay.
How in the world, Teddy, with everything that he has put into his career, with all the work, day in and day out, and you see his promotional team there, and his management, and his corner, how in the world did he just quit in this fight?
First time that he's tested, you could make the argument, first time he's really tested in a fight, and obviously did not respond the way that he needed to.
Absolutely unbelievable.
By the way, I did not have that score. We had a mistake on the scorecard. I had it where it was 4 rounds to 1 going into that 6th round in favor of Maussa. The first 4 rounds, I saw no way but Maussa 10-9, and had just given the 1st round and the 5th round to Resto. But Maussa makes that all mean nothing by taking the scores into his own hands with his gloves, keeping it away from the judges.
Teddy, I'll give Carlos Maussa a lot of credit in that 6th round. He had a good combination to open up the corner, in the corner over here, and then just before the mouthpiece came out the 2nd time, landed another solid punch. But it is hard to understand the explanation of the frustration of Jeff Resto quitting here in the 6th round.
Maussa was in control. You could see that. The referee did step in there and asked him to break. There was already a punch on the way. You could argue there was a late punch, but it was already on the way. Here we're going to take another look. Maussa, as he was doing all night long, Resto goes defensive. We said it right from the outset, not something we talked about late. Goes defensive too long. Now, maybe he got frustrated, threw a low blow there. Then, that's what happened. The referee, Lawrence Cole, was trying to get in there to warn Resto for a low blow, which I think he threw to slow Maussa down in frustration. He was getting warned for that low blow, and as he was being warned for that low blow, a punch comes in, lands, knocks the mouthpiece out of Resto. Resto gets frustrated, was having trouble, was being tested, and then, as you said, does a no mas in the corner. But that's what happened. There was a low blow. The referee was trying to get in there. As he was trying to get in there, a little bit of a late punch by Maussa. Resto gets hit. Mouthpiece gets knocked out. He gets more discouraged, more than he already was in this fight, being tested the 1st time. And then he walks back to his corner and he decides not to fight anymore.
Everybody who has known Jeff Resto, everybody who has seen him, talked to him, this is not in character, but sometimes this sport can expose a man's soul, a man's character, and he has to dig deep and ask himself certain questions. Apparently here in the 6th round, he asked himself if he could go on. He answered himself. And for Carlos Maussa, a well-earned win. He moves on. He's still the unbeaten prospect. 16-0, 15 knockouts. Brian and Max, a shocker here.
You know, Max, we saw parallels here to Barrios Freitas, where you had a guy loose punches and another guy sharp. And Resto, I thought Resto was going to knock him out early just by looking at the way they punched. But basically a guy who would not stop, would not be backed up in any fashion.
Right.
And I think that's what Resto really felt. And he might have been stopped if Lawrence Cole hadn't stepped in and stopped the action right there. He might have been stopped and knocked out right there.
I think what just happened there, and look, he was going to lose that fight. Resto was going to lose that fight. He was getting beaten. I think what happened right there is Lawrence Cole, who's been criticized for various decisions he's made on the spot as a referee, stopped the action at the wrong time because clearly a fighter had the upper hand. You're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to wait for a lull in the action. And Resto was given an opportunity to recover, a kind of an unfair opportunity. I think at that moment Resto thought he was being stopped. And when the fight wasn't being stopped and he realized, oh, I have to go on, the wind was already out of his sails. He felt relieved, and he realized even if he had wanted to go on at that point, he wasn't going to. I think that's what it looked like happened to me. I didn't get a good view of Resto saying he wanted to quit.
Yeah, it's hard. It happened so quickly. I wouldn't be so quick to judge that this was a no-mas situation. Again, it's strange, but then his actions after the fight were so passive that it seemed, well, he wanted this to end.
It looked to me that he thought the fight was over when the mouthpiece came out and the action was stopped. And it's almost like Mickey Ward, Arturo Gatti, not to compare Resto to either one of those two guys right now, but Ward was told in the corner that he had just won the fight, in the first fight.
They thought Gatti was staying on the stool.
They thought Gatti was staying on the stool, so he thought he had won, and then he was told, oh, no, and the wind went out of his sails. Oh, no, you have to fight on, and he lost the last round to Gatti. I think a similar dynamic in a way just happened. Resto thought the fight was over, then was told, no, you fight on. He said, no, this thing's over
Your
already.
adrenaline has already dropped, and it's hard to recreate that. At any rate, we're going to try to get back into the ring, and we'll hear from, hopefully, both fighters, the winner, Carlos Maussa, and also Jeffrey Resto, as to why he get back out to Corpus Christi, Texas once again. Joe and Teddy are standing by with Jeffrey Resto. Guys?
These guys need to get a monitor in front of us. All right,
Brian and Max, Joe Tessitore and Teddy Atlas now joined by Jeff Resto. Jeff, let's get right to it. Please explain what happened at the end of the 6th round.
Well, I got hit on the eye. I don't know if it was a thumb or what was it, but I couldn't. First it was a left eye, and then it was a right eye. And I couldn't see. I don't know. Because I was upset, and I mean, the guy didn't hit as hard as I thought he would, but he just kept hitting and hitting. And the fact that I couldn't see very well with both eyes, I decided not to fight no more.
Okay, so you were unable to see and you felt you couldn't continue. So when Lawrence Cole addressed the situation in the corner, you told him I can't continue.
Yeah, I didn't want to get hurt, and I'm sorry I disappointed everybody, but hey, this thing's happening.
It's boxing.
Right.
How's your vision right now?
Well, I still can't see that good on this side, but this one, like I can see better now.
Were you confused by this fighter not knowing a lot about him? Your people took him without knowing a real lot about him. Were you confused by that? Because it looked to me like you never established a real fight plan. Like the guy was coming with wide punches. I thought you were going to punch in between. I thought you were going to keep him at a certain distance, and you were going to not allow him to get into the distance he got into. But you never did that. One minute you were moving around, the next minute you were blocking too long. Were you just confused by not knowing anything about this guy?
I think that's what it was. I think I was kind of confused. This guy had a weird style. I don't know. I couldn't get inside, or I didn't feel like I couldn't go inside.
Because it looked like you just never looked like you had a plan that you knew this is the way I'm going to go.
Well, I had a plan. I was going to jab him for the first 2-3 rounds. But since he got cut, I wanted to take him out. I didn't want it to end up on a no contest or something like that. So I kind of changed my game plan. And I went at him with like wild punches too, but his style was kind of awkward. I don't know.
Jeff and Teddy, let's take a look at the end of the fight and show you how things went down in the 6th round. And Jeff, tell us what was happening here.
Well,
what's going through your mind?
Well, not much. I mean, I couldn't see very well through my right, and he hit me.
Now, at this point right here, have you made up your mind that you cannot continue?
Yeah, because I was just getting hit with too many punches, you know, and I was just gonna get hurt. So.
Where do you go from here, Jeff?
I don't know. I'll take a break now and later on see what's good for me.
Are you thinking right now, the way you're talking right now, I know you're in a tough spot, are you thinking about not boxing anymore?
No, I'll come back. And first I got to take a rest and think it over. And of course I'll come back. I'll come back and train hard the next time.
Jeff, we wish you the best of luck. We hope your vision clears up and you heal up nicely.
Okay.
Carlos Maussa gets the TKO 6-round win. We will have more boxing from Corpus Christi on Friday Night Fights, our 5-year anniversary. More to come. Stay with us. Thank you for your time.
All right, Jeff.